same conversation with Disney World anytime you want. But what we found, Steve, is we really like to compete on experiences, right? Because what we've found in talking with lots of people and in our profession, outside of our profession, that's what people are looking for in today's economy. It's really an experience.
Welcome to Spotlight Sioux Falls, where culture meets commerce and the people behind our favorite places get the mic.
We're your hosts, Melissa Goodwin and Steve Schmidt, and we're sitting down with the makers, doers, and dreamers shaping the soul of our city.
From storefronts to side hustles, tattoos to tech startups, we are telling the stories that make Sioux Falls shine.
Because behind every business is a human story, and those stories, they're what make our community feel like home. This is Spotlight Sioux Falls.
Steve Schmidt here, one of your hosts with Spotlight Sioux Falls. Dr. Cole Snyder at Envive Chiropractic downtown has hosted us today because we made you. We called you and said, we have to work with you.
That's right.
Let's tell Sioux Falls who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Cole Snyder. I own Envive Chiropractic here in downtown Sioux Falls. Been here now, I think, going on 6 years. Have had the pleasure of getting to meet Steve and great people like Steve and taking care of you. And so just running the operation and trying to figure things out one day at a time.
Yeah. Well, I love this story here. So let's walk it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Dr. Nate Unruintown owned this firm. And I told you when I came and saw you, I think for me, the Sioux Falls storyline here was I remember being in junior high.
Yeah.
And he was working on my mom. And he's not that old.
Yeah, correct.
And he was very good at what he did. And I think that reputation, number one, brought me in. So I got to tell you, like, that got me in. Mm-hmm. And then the experience. It feels weird to say experience and Disney World and chiropractic.
Yeah.
What is that all about, and why do you guys go so far out of your way to make it so easy?
Yeah, so I mean, put me in the same conversation with Disney World anytime you want. But what we found, Steve, is we really like to compete on experiences, right? Because what we've found in talking with lots of people and in our profession, outside of our profession, that's what people are looking for in today's economy. It's really an experience economy, because we want to go where we feel good. We want to go where everybody knows your name, right? That old adage. And so that's what we try to hit on, is how do we take care of people, and then what we do is kind of secondary to just that experience that we can create.
Layer deeper on that. The Experience Economy is a great book.
Yes.
Have you gone through with the staff? Do you go through formal training? Because accidents like this just don't happen, right?
Yeah. So I'm taking it straight out of there. I'm plagiarizing the Experience Economy. So we work hard on training on all of those things, because it's not something that happens by accident. And when you're dealing with, we have 4 or 5 different team members from all different walks of life, and they have different experiences in their background. And so trying to create some systems and create some training that will visit frequently to stay sharp and stay tight on what does creating an experience look like? How do you break down what a great customer experience is?
Yeah.
And so we've kind of helped create some formulas and create some steps so that we can look at it and go, okay, great, we're hitting it, or we're missing the mark.
Yeah, and I know you measure that, because that's really important, and you guys are great about asking questions, surveys. I mean, I'm telling you all through, I leave, they say, do you want to use a card on file? I say, great, I grab a candy, I'm out.
Right.
Like, I've got it.
Yeah, yep.
I'm like Dale Earnhardt Jr. in here. I got all my stations down.
Yeah, and so I think the cool thing there, Steve, is that's your experience, right? And so it's the kind of the art of, we don't have 100 different experiences to offer, right? We are who we are, but it's how do you create an experience that's really only and exactly to the specific person.
How do you?
Right? Because you come in, probably most of the time you don't have a scheduled appointment, right? Which we're not going to hold against you. We're ready for you. You come in, you got 800 things going on. You were supposed to be somewhere a half hour ago, and so
probably here,
right?
Yeah.
And so we're just okay, this is Steve. This is what he likes. Let's just make sure we can create and craft an experience that's specific to him.
Yeah.
But that's not the only way it can be done.
I got to ask you the question: when did you know, and how did you know that you wanted to be in this line of work?
It's a fun story, because I still to this day don't know exactly how I got here, but we can trace it back to the 5th grade. My dad was actually was elementary school teacher, and he was my homeroom teacher. Yeah. And one of the assignments was, write what you want to do, and I wrote that I wanted to be a chiropractor. Yeah. And he called me up after and was like, where did this come from? We had no family lineage of chiropractic. I had never seen a chiropractor, and so somehow along the way, I think it's more of a calling and a God thing, but that's really the only thing I ever wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
And so I just remember that day, and then it just, I just kind of grew up in looking at all of the things in natural health, and played sports, and I had chiropractic care, had great experiences, that type of thing. And then
you had to grow up and get a job, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
What a great job. You now run this company.
I was a lifeguard. That was my first job in high school. And then I ended up working here as I went to school at Augustana and knew I wanted to get into chiropractic. And so sent some emails and was able to, get my foot in the door here with Envive many years ago, just working from the ground up on figuring it out, being an intern, and just ended up creating a great relationship with Dr. Unruh, and it just blossomed into what it is today. So super cool story, a lot of cool things that happened. I'm super grateful for that. But yeah, this is kind of the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
When you were a lifeguard, did you just like get people out of the water and start cracking their backs?
Did not.
And that's when you knew?
Nope, that would have been illegal, and I never did that. Thanks, Steve.
When you started working on people, were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you excited?
Yeah, I think a little both. Not necessarily when you get into practice and you've graduated, but if we're talking chiropractic school, you take your lumps and you have some classes you never forget and some people that you may or may never not speak with again. But that's part of it. You know, there's some training and you do a lot of hands-on work, and there's a few adjustments that maybe do more harm than good at that stage. But it's how you learn, and by the time you get through the rigmarole and get through the schooling, you can be pretty confident in your abilities, and you just got to get to be kind of a master of what you do.
Two things I think the audience is really going to enjoy. If you have TikTok or Instagram like me and you've ever said the word "my back hurts" or the words, that's when you get a lot of reels on that. I was obsessed with the reels. The ones that would crack the backs, they'd hang them from the ceilings in Russia. I was like, hey, Dr. Snyder. You're like, oh, one of those. And like there's a technique with where they place the mic. I think that absolutely, for me at least, I didn't use it the right way, hurt myself, right? Because I'm sitting there trying to become my own chiropractor. Is that hurting us more than it's helping us?
You're seeing me kind of quiver a little bit. I don't love that for our profession, and I get it. It's clicks and impressions and those types of things. But, there's still a level of, I think, professionalism, and there's still a level of the relationship and the trust that has to happen in any sort of healthcare. And so that's not for us. I'm not going to demonize the people that do it, but you're not going to see us on a ton of social media doing those things. And it's more of the one-on-one in that relationship, and that's really just a means to the end of trying to get the results that we're after.
I love it. I want to get into the meat and the bones here in a second, because this stuff is super exciting to me. You have a special staff member, and I really want to talk about her right now. I've told you time and time again, like, where did you find this girl? I think she's exceptional. I think the energy she gives, she's so kind to our son. Where did you find her? What is her name? And I know you're not going to keep her forever, because she's going to be running the world pretty soon.
She'll be happy to hear us talking about her. So Molly is her name. She's a South Dakota State grad. She's been with us for a year, and
so much energy.
Yeah, she's great. She's amazing. Right? She's just a ray of sunshine. The coolest thing is, if you've been around in time, as great as Molly is, there's been greats before Molly.
I know.
Right? And so she's an amazing human being. So it's how do you find the right people with the right raw materials and put them in the right opportunity to just be successful, right? She's a people pleaser, she's a lover, and so let's put her in a role that just allows her to excel, and she's great, and she's going to make you feel it, and a lot of times you're going to remember how she made you feel, probably paramount to anything else that happened in the office, which is the goal.
My back. When I walked in, I was in so much more pain than I am now. Still in pain, right? I'm not trying to sell pain-free. It is way different, though. It's manageable. I think mostly I understand it and I'm treating it. So walk me through, when I come into this very room, you never have a new patient waiting, first and foremost, which I think is awesome.
Right.
That happens. What happens next?
So it's really about who is this human being and what's their story.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when people come to us, you're no different. Sometimes we're the first line of defense, but oftentimes chiropractic might not be, right?
Right.
Been everywhere, tried everything, have had multiple experiences, and so it's trying to get an idea of where's this human being at, and then what's the goal, right? Because when you came in, you were miserable. But if your goal was, I want to be 100% pain-free, that was gonna be a different conversation, right? Because we also know you've got some, you've got surgery scheduled, right? And so with you, it was, well, what can we do to help, right? And really, what's the goal? Can we see 20-30% improvement? Can we get you out of pain? Can we get you sleeping better? All those things. Let's meet you where you're at, and then develop the trust and the right relationship that we can communicate and ebb and flow and drive the results you're looking for.
Something bizarre. Before we look at this, because you're always connecting the knee bone to the shoulder bone. I was in the sauna today thinking about this interview, thinking about the time and just kind of replaying the game tape. And I remember talking to you. I can feel it when I twist my body here, I can really feel it in my hip. And that, I remember thinking, what a cool thing to be able to feel your body. I mean, granted, it's not great to go through that amount of pain, but you're starting to feel the connectedness of it all.
Yeah.
I think that started to happen when I started to do my work with you. Is there any correlation there?
There is, and I've heard it before. There's almost like a sixth sense, if you would. As you know, because chiropractic, and not to preach, but essentially all you're doing with the main goal of chiropractic is really seeing where is the nervous system having issues, right? Nervous system being brain, spinal cord, and all the millions of miles of nerves, right? That controls everything, right? And so the idea is, as you get adjusted, as the body's able to kind of start to function better and feel better and kind of get an idea of what's going on, because we're really improving that connection between the brain and the nerves, you do develop kind of an idea of, gosh, I notice this more, I feel this. And a lot of times that's where you can start to just know your body a little bit better. And when you've been in so much pain or you've been in chronic pain, it just gets so much harder for things to operate. And so as you dampen that, it's kind of like it opens up the door for you to be able to experience some of those things.
Let's take a look at this. Walk our audience through, pardon me. What are we looking at?
So this is just one of the tools that we use, and essentially what we're looking at is muscle tension. Okay, and when we say muscle tension, it's really indicative of the muscles right along the spine, and it's one of the best kind of correlations that we can draw to what's going on with those nerves in that area and those spinal segments that we're targeting. And so with you, Steve, we'd like to see green and balance is always the goal. Okay. And this was kind of one of your later scans with us, but what we see here and with you, you're having shoulder surgery.
On the right.
And so with you, what we saw is there's just tons of tension and tons of irritation in that neck and upper back. As a result, because your body's got to adapt, and when you have a bum wing, we got to figure out how to still get things moving and grooving through there. And so it just gives a kind of a nice visual and helps to kind of connect the dots for a lot of people to go, why am I hurting so bad, or what's going on? And so it's not the end all be all, I don't live and die by this, but it does give us some pretty good pieces of information, and it helps connect the dots to what's the story that we have here and where are we going to go with this.
I love it. This scared the heck out of me, to be honest, but it also, like you said, it started to make sense. So I knew I wasn't crazy, crazy for this. I also knew, like, on the bottom right, when I say my hip, I'm telling you, this morning I felt that up here. And so I was like, okay, I know there's muscle there, so now I get to ask you the question, what can I do over time? Because to me, it's not eliminating it, it's managing it. And that's like what you and I sat down and talked about is, let's get clear expectations, right? Because anytime you're in healthcare, and it doesn't matter where you're at, where are we going and how can we get there, and what do we have to see along the way, right? Because like I told you, I said, Steve, you don't want me to cut open your shoulder. That's not going to go well for either of us. So what's our role? How can you use us? And then how can we create it in, like we said, in an experience and a way that it's easy for you to seek care when you need it, and you have no hesitation to call us or stop in, and we can, you know what you're going to get. I didn't feel like you were competing with the doctor. I felt like you were saying, hey, it looks like you need surgery. Can he send me the MRI? And I was like, oh, wow. And then you're like, I can talk to him. To me, that meant a lot, because I know I've never been through that surgery, but I know it doesn't sound fun.
Here's where we can start.
Many adjustments, because to me, I don't even think of it that way. I think of continual care.
Everyone's different, right? And so most cases and most protocols, there's an initial series of adjustments that really, if you take it out of chiropractic, it's not that foreign,
Yeah.
right? If I want to start to see results in the gym, I'm going to work out 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm doing a diet, if I'm doing anything that changes the body, it's consistency over time.
Right.
Right. And so usually that's the same recommendation, but it's never cookie cutter. It's not this, and this. It's everyone has unique circumstances, different stages of life, different things you're dealing with, different jobs, and so it's going to adapt and grow over time. But we have to set us up for success versus if we go, you know what, let's just see what happens. Let's adjust you one time and maybe we'll see where you're at next week. It's just we've never found success with that. We want to have an idea of here's where we can start.
Yeah. So I'm brand new. I walk in the clinic. Dr. Snyder, what am I going to go through? What's the process?
Yeah. So that new patient experience, in totality, we always say 45 minutes to an hour. And we'll hold true to that. You're not going to be here any longer than that, and we're going to try to beat it. But in that time, we really want it to be about you, right?
Yeah.
So we minimize things like paperwork or just simply waiting, right? New patients are never going to sit and wait. We want to be ready for you, but when you come in, we're ready to roll. And so we're going to spend time getting to know, again, who is this human being? Where are we at? How did you get here?
Yeah.
Why today? Because there's a lot of things that play into that.
Yeah.
And it's really getting to what's this patient's problem? Because what we found is it's not usually the headaches or the neck pain or the back pain as much as it is how's that limiting life, right? It's I can no longer perform at work. I'm not sleeping. I can't take care of my kids. I can't play softball, whatever it is. Well, that's the heart of the issue.
Yeah.
To go, well, what do we got to do to get you there? Right. And so getting aligned there and setting the right expectations and being frank with you going, here's what we need to see.
Yeah.
Here's what we can expect based on where you're at. Again, using your story going, Steve, we can probably help you get a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right. But you're going to need to get that shoulder taken care of.
Can't give me a 6-pack or anything like that. I got to go do that myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that all helps though. Like when you think about that, I think about that stuff now. Like obviously not that much, but posture, the neck. Like if I say this hurts, there's a way that you tell me like, hey Steve, like make sure you're doing the right stuff so you don't have to come see me all the time.
Right, and chiropractic care is always a piece of the puzzle. I'm a big, it doesn't matter what you've got going on, chiropractic can play a role, right? But what we can't do is set us up for failure by saying, hey, this is the end all be all for you. Some people it is, and I don't want to downplay that because we see a lot of really cool things, but I also want to be real with how does this fit? What can we expect to see? What do we need to see along the way? And then again, creating that relationship to go, if we're not helping you, number one, don't run away.
Yeah.
Don't do I went there once and it was awful. I'll never go back.
They were so nice.
Because it happens. We're not for everybody. I'm not perfect, but I would much rather go, what didn't you like? What didn't we? Because usually it's lack of communication. We didn't set the right expectations. So let's start there, right? And then the door's open to go, hey, here's what we're looking for. And if we don't see the change that we need to see, or you're not happy, or you don't like my hair, I don't care what it is. Let's help you find the next best spot, right? People like to speed date with chiropractors, and I went here, I didn't like this, I didn't like that, and we trust me, I know we.
You guys have your online group where you're like, they're coming.
You know what I mean? And no, not necessarily, but there's such the relationship has to be there, right?
It's trust, right?
I can't take care of everybody in Sioux Falls. I'd love to, right? But there's a lot of great offices, and we're well connected. We know a lot of the other practitioners in town. If I'm not the right fit, then let's have the conversation. Let me help you go to the next chiropractor or the physical therapist or the orthopedic surgeon, whoever it is. We pride ourselves on being connected and saying, hey, again, we're a means to an end. Let's get you the results you're looking for, whether it's in our office or outside these walls. Let's just create that opportunity to help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah. For the record, we think you have great hair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, most do, I think.
Most do, I think. I like that. Confidence. You've always enjoyed the jobs of like saving people's lives, making them better. And so like you mentioned the God thing.
Yeah.
To you, like this is integrated into like your calling and your purpose. Walk
sure.
me through that because I know it's really important to you.
Yeah, I think you got to be who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And so having that clarity on who we are and what we do. And so we've got our, and most companies have cultural statements and vision, mission, values. And so just being really clean and clear on this is what we do. And our vision here at Envive is to enhance millions of lives.
Yeah.
And so it's a very broad why, but when we look at the people we serve and their sphere of influence, and we've been around long enough, I think we got to be close, if not there. And so that's our motivator of why we're getting out of bed and why we're doing what we do. Just to how do we create these unforgettable experiences and help people just get to where they want to go and be the best asset that we can for them. The biggest thing, we want you to feel taken care of when you're here, both for any issues that you bring, but also just as a human being. We want to know who you are, where you're from, how you're feeling, and we just want that kind of the art of hospitality to come out to where you know we care about you as a human being and we're ready to help you get to wherever you want to go.
This episode of Spotlight Sioux Falls is sponsored by Magnetic. We help businesses grow through content that stands out and software that scales your conversations. Not sure how to build your pipeline? You can find us at magnetic.services. Magnetic.services, your pipeline will thank you.
Thanks for listening to Spotlight Sioux Falls.
These are the stories and the businesses that shape our city. If you heard something today that made you smile, made you think, or maybe reminded you of someone you know in your neighborhood, please share it.
That's how we support local. That's how we grow. And if you know a business owner we should feature, or you want to tell your story, reach out.
Until next time, we're Steve and Melissa, and this is Spotlight Sioux Falls, where local stories get the stage they deserve.
And over here is our therapy area. So we have a variety of different therapies available. So we do cupping, shockwave, traction.
I have one question, though. Yeah. Are you ready to answer it?
Yeah.
Can I dance, though? You ready? You got to dance. Can you dance when you go to the chiropractor?
Oh, yeah.